Hi guys, I'm Erica. Welcome to Hack Your Health. In today's video, I'm going to give you a list of tips to help you fall asleep. Everyone has struggled with insomnia or sleep deprivation or other things that keep us up, and hopefully something on this list will help you get a better night's sleep. So my first tip is to have the same nighttime routine every day, and this I find easier than having the same hour to go to sleep every day, although that is also great. But if you work weird shifts or have a varying schedule, it can be hard. But if you have the same routine every night before you fall asleep and do things in the same order, it can kind of be like a Pavlovian dog kind of response where your body is and your mind are then ready for sleep after doing a certain sequence of activities. And along those same lines, it's really helpful to have a relaxing evening routine. So this could be having a hot bath or shower, or using something like natural light or candle light for a while before you go to sleep. Something that's soothing and calming and relaxing as part of your routine will also help you just kind of shake off the day and get into a good state in order to fall asleep. You could also try drinking tea before you fall asleep, such as chamomile, valerian, skullcap, tulsi. These are all teas that have a relaxing effect on the body. Some people also take magnesium supplements before they go to bed. So something like Nature Calm, I think it's called. It's a magnesium powder that you dissolve in hot water and drink before you fall asleep. And some people find that that also helps them sleep better. In my case, it doesn't help me sleep better, but vitamin C sometimes does. So using something like that makes your body more relaxed can also help you fall asleep. My fourth tip is to declutter your room. So if you have a really serene and peaceful area where you're falling asleep each night, that's really helpful for calming your mind and for just general relaxation. So if you have a lot of clutter or piles of clothes or books or anything that stresses you out when you see it in your room, that can make a more tense feeling that you're having when you enter your room right before you fall asleep. So it can be really helpful to just declutter that space and make it as peaceful as possible. Essential oils can also be really helpful when it comes to falling asleep. And in particular, lavender is one that has been shown in clinical trials to help people have a deeper and improved quality of sleep. And it also has a calming effect on your mind. When you smell it, it just helps you relax. So I would definitely recommend using lavender oil. Clary sage and chamomile essential oils are other examples of relaxing essential oils. But I'd say that lavender is kind of the classic best one if you want to just have a really relaxing scent. My sixth tip is to read an actual book before bed. So I know that a lot of people read their phone, and I sometimes do this myself, read on their phone before falling asleep. And it does get your mind off of the day to some extent, but the problem with reading on your phone is, for one thing, you're getting notifications. So you might get an email or a message or something that you feel like you need to respond to, and your mind will just start to engage with that instead of falling asleep. And then there's also the bright white light coming off of the phone, and that bright white light basically tells us that it's daytime, which I think everyone knows. But it can be really helpful to, instead of reading on your phone, use an actual book to read before you fall asleep. On that same thread, it's really helpful to put your phone on airplane mode when you're going to bed, or at least on silent, because the same thing, you could get a message or an email or something that just in that moment that you feel like you're about to fall asleep, a notification comes and disturbs you. So just try to completely disengage from your phone and any other electronics while you're falling asleep. If noise is bothering you, such as people walking in the upstairs apartment or something going by, sirens or cars or anything outside, or the neighbor's barking dog, or whatever noise could potentially be disturbing you, one thing that your phone is helpful for is you can download a white noise app. So I like to use Relaxio, and that's just a free app where you can kind of create your own mix of white noise. And then if there's other distracting noises that are coming and going, it's helpful to just have a white noise playing in the background. You can also buy white noise machines and certain devices that create white noise, but that comes with extra expense. So if you just want something that's free and easily accessible, I would recommend downloading a white noise app. And you can also get earplugs, and those can be really helpful to fall asleep. And there's different qualities of earplugs, so you can just get them at the dollar store, just the foam ones. But if you have a more serious situation, such as sleeping beside someone who snores really loudly or something like that, you can actually get custom-made earplugs that are really effective at blocking out noise. And if you have to wake up with an alarm, my suggestion would be to use a Fitbit, because there's a vibrating alarm. So if you're concerned that if you use earplugs, you won't hear your alarm in the morning, you could try using a vibrating alarm clock, such as a Fitbit, in order to wake you up. And that would basically solve that issue. And it is a little complicated, but I would suggest it if you're having a hard time sleeping due to noise. My next tip is to practice meditation daily. So you could practice it in the morning, noon, night, doesn't matter the time of day, and it could be for as little as 5 minutes or as long as hours on end if that's what you want to do. But basically what's important is just practicing getting yourself into a calm state, centering your thoughts, being aware of your breath, and kind of letting go of stress and tension, and making a daily practice of that will really help you be able to get into a calm state when you're falling asleep. It can also be really helpful to pay attention to the temperature of your room, because I find at least that if it's really hot or really cold, it's very hard to fall asleep. And I know I'm not the only one. So if you're finding that you're overheating, sometimes just opening a window or using a lighter blanket can make it, or using a fan or an air conditioner can make it much easier to fall asleep. And same thing if you're too cold, you could use a heated blanket or a hot water bottle or extra blankets, or whatever it takes to bring you to a comfortable temperature is going to really help you fall asleep. It's also helpful to practice gratitude before you fall asleep, because it creates more positive and calm emotions and a better feeling. So keeping a gratitude journal, or just getting into the habit of reminding yourself of a few things you're grateful for before you fall asleep, can be really helpful. It's also helpful for any kind of depression or anxiety, but it can help you fall asleep as well. And also reminding yourself of what good things are to come the next day. Whether it's just enjoying a morning coffee, or a person that you get to see the next day, or really anything positive that you can remind yourself of about the next day can also help you fall asleep. Another really simple tip that it's easy to forget about is to get adequate exercise during the day, because that will help you feel less restless and more physically tired. And if you can just tire yourself out, that's a great way to fall asleep. Like if you go for a run or a long walk or whatever you have time for, just to kind of tire your muscles out and get your body to a point where it wants to lie down and it wants to rest, can also be super helpful. And on the flip side of that, there are certain things that you might do during the day that can make it harder to sleep. For example, eating chocolate or drinking coffee within about 6 hours of going to bed. The caffeine will still be in your system, so that can definitely make it harder to fall asleep. As well as eating large meals right before you try to fall asleep. So basically avoiding anything that's really overstimulating and gonna make you on a very heightened state, whether it's through some kind of drug like caffeine, or whether it's through something that's gonna release a lot of adrenaline, like being scared or getting really pumped up. Basically anything like that right before falling asleep is going to be counterproductive, obviously. So if you can avoid that for a while before you go to bed, that will definitely be helpful. Journaling is also a great tool if you're having trouble falling asleep, because a lot of the time when we aren't sleeping, we're thinking over and over again of the same pattern of thoughts. For example, you might have a problem that you haven't solved, or a conflict that hasn't been resolved, or basically a lot of the time that is what keeps people awake at night, and there can be other things, obviously. But if it's something like that where you're having a cyclical thought or something that you haven't resolved and that's what's keeping you awake, journaling can be really helpful because it gets those thoughts out of your head and onto paper. And sometimes writing it down can also help you resolve whatever you're feeling or reach different conclusions. And it's also something quiet and sort of peaceful that you can do. It's just a cleansing activity for your mind, basically. So I would suggest, if that's something that's troubling you, is your cyclical thoughts while you're trying to fall asleep, I would definitely suggest just journaling. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just grab a notebook or a piece of paper, write down what you're thinking or feeling, and you can tear it up afterwards if you don't want anyone to see it. But just getting your thoughts out can be really helpful to just clear your mind and help you go back to sleep. And if you've been lying awake for a while, like 15, 20 minutes, and you're starting to feel, the feeling that we're probably all familiar with of, oh no, I can't fall asleep, and then you start thinking about how you can't sleep and it makes things worse, it's better to just get up and do something for a little while and clear your mind and get into a different sort of frame of mind where you're not just obsessing about not sleeping and then try again. So I find that it's helpful to get up and, make a cup of tea and maybe drink the tea and read my book. And then by then I've forgotten mostly about how I can't sleep and it's easier to try again. So instead of just lying there for hours and hours and hours on end, which is quite awful, it can be really helpful to just get up, move around a little, or just read your book and do something that's calming and relaxing, and maybe a few of the things on this list before trying again to go to sleep. And sometimes you can even get a few things done that way if you've put off something for a long time, let's say writing an email and you just keep thinking about it. I find that sometimes it's quicker to just get up, write the email for 10, 15 minutes, send it, and go back to sleep than it is to lie awake for hours thinking about it. So if there's something you can do to relieve your mind that's quick, I would suggest doing that. So hopefully there's been something on this list that will be helpful to you in falling asleep. And if you're having trouble with that, we've all been there, and basically these are just a few tricks that don't involve really heavy medication like sleeping pills that you could build into your daily routine. And if you have any other suggestions, I'm always happy to hear them. And if you'd like to see more of my videos, then please subscribe to my channel. And if you like this video, please let me know by pushing the like. And if you have any video suggestions or questions or comments or anything else that you'd like to share, I always love reading your comments. And all the best to you. I hope you have a really great night's sleep tonight. Okay, bye.